Vedaya Yusava Mamaka Pandavasheva Kimbakurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage known as Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Bhagavad-Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There says that one should read Bhagavad-Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations.
By the way, there are 3 Gita Mahatmyas. That's why Prabhupada doesn't say who the author of the Gita Mahatmya is. There's one in the Padma Purana, and there's one in one other Purana, the Garuda Purana or something. And the third one was written by Sri Shankaracharya. So the one we're reading is, I think, is by Shankaracharya. Go ahead.
Okay.
When I say the one we're reading, the one we just read at the end of the introduction was the verses by Shankaracharya. Go ahead.
The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad-Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone's fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad-Gita in that line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures on the world. One will find in the Bhagavad-Gita that all is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. This is the specific standard of the Gita. It is a perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya are described in the Mahabharata, form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from the memorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. The word Dharma Kshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory.
In his doubt,
he inquired from Sanjaya, what did they do? He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want to compromise between the cousins and brothers, because he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven, the Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this will influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably, because by nature they are all virtuous. Sanjaya was a virtuous. Sanjaya was a student of Vyasa, and therefore, by the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjaya was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra, even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belonged to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. One can understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra and his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out. So it's expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, is present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra, son Duryodhana, and others will be wiped out. And with the early religious presence headed by Yudhishthira will be established by the Lord. This is the significance of the words Dharma Kshetra and Kurukshetra, apart from their historical and Vedic importance. I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
So, even if, because most of the people on the Pandava side were wiped out too, and because they're supposed to be good, why did they get wiped out?
Are you saying why did some of the soldiers on the Pandava side die?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah. That's not the issue. The issue is the Pandavas won the battle. Okay. Whenever there's a battle or whenever there's war, there's going to be people that die on both sides. But who's the winner? That's what's important.
Okay.
So the winners, in this case, are going to be those who are actually surrendered to Krishna. So it's very clear that Dhritarashtra and his sons were not surrendered to Krishna, because Krishna came and begged them, please, let's not have a war, just give the Pandavas one village each, they'll be satisfied for the rest of their life. You know, they are Kshatriyas, they are destined to have administration of something, so, but they don't want the whole kingdom, they'll just be satisfied with one village each. And Duryodhana refused. He said, I won't give him enough land to put a pin into, as we read earlier. So because of that extreme fanaticism and hatred of Duryodhana, this battle is taking place. And obviously, Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas, so it's sure that the Pandavas are going to win. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Sanjaya Vacha Dushta tu Pandavanikam Vyudam Duryodhanastata Acharyam Upasangamya Rajam Vachanam Abravit. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind to the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. Sanjaya wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king, and thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son, Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief, Dronacharya, to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. Pasyaitam Panduputrana Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudam Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
I see, you notice that Sanjaya didn't say that the Kurus or Duryodhana and the sons of Dhritarashtra were going to win the battle. He said that Duryodhana was not going to compromise. Yeah.
O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of the Buddha. Purport. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmana commander-in-chief. Duryodhana had some political quarrel with King Drupada. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice, by which he received the benediction of having a son who will be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of the Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for their military fun acts, after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya so that he may be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. Attasura Maheshwasa Bhimarjuna Samayuti Yuyutano Virasascha Dravadascha Maharata. Here in this army there are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yudhana, Virata and Drapada. Purport. Even though Drishtadumya was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there are many others who were cause of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory because each one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared others with them. Drishtaketusche Kitana Kashi Radascha Viryavan Purujit Kunti Potascha Shaibyascha Narapungavaha. There are also great heroic powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashi Raja, Purujit Kunti Pocha and Shaibya. Yudamanyucha Uttamajas Vikranantascha Viryavan Sobhadro Dopadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharata. There are the mighty Yudamanyu, the very powerful Uttamojas, the son of Subhadra and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Ashmakam tu vishishtaye tanniboda vijottama nayakam mama sainyasya samjartam tan bravinite. For your information, all rest of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitim Jaya Ashwatthama Vikarnascha Somadattista Trevacha. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bharishrava, who are always victorious in battle. Duryodhana mentions the exceptional heroes in battle, all of them who are ever victorious. Vikarna, the brother of Duryodhana, Ashwatthama, the son of Dronacharya, and Somadatta or Bharishrava, the son of the king of the Balikas. Karna is a half-brother of Arjuna, as he was born as the son of Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Kripacharya's twin sister married Dronacharya. Anyecha Bahavasura Madarte Tyakta Jivita Nana Shastra Praharana Sarve Yuddha Visharada. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science. As far as others are concerned, like Jayadatta, Kritavarma, and Shalya, all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was of course confident of his victory on account of the above-mentioned combined strength of his friends. Aparyaptam tadashmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam Tvidam etesham balam bhima bhirakshitam. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Purport. Here an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces are immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, protected by a less experienced general, Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. Okay. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who is a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yata bhagam avashtita bhishmameva virakshantu bhavanta sarva eva hi. All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considers that others who might think that they have been considered less important, so in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to address the situation in the above words. He emphasizes that Bhishma was undoubtedly the greatest hero. Bhishma Deva was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man, so everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight, and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it is important that other heroes not leave their strategic positions and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt the victory of the Kurus depended on the presence of Bhishma Deva. He was confident of the full support of Bhishma Deva and Dronacharya in the battle because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi in her helpless condition had appealed to them for justice, while she was being forced to appear naked in the presence of all great generals in the assembly. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that these generals would now completely give it up, as they had done during the gambling performances. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha simmanadam vinad yochai shankam dadmo pratapavan. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. The grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhana. Now, with natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer by blowing his conch very loudly, affirming his position as a lion. Indirectly, by the symbolism of the conch, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no choice of victory in the battle, because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pain will be spared in that connection. Tata Shankascha Beryascha Panavanaka Gomukha Sahasaiva Vyahanyanta Sasabdastumulo Bhavat. After that, the conchos, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Tata Shweter Hayer Yukte Mahati Shandanestata Madhava Pandavascheva Divyo Shanko Pradatmatuhu. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conchos. In contrast with the concho blown by Bhishma Deva, the conchos in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conchos indicated that there is no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Jayastu Pandu Putranam Yesham Pakshe Janardana. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there, because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch of Vishnu, Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were situated had been donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna, and this indicated that the chariot was capable of conquering all sides, where it was drawn over the three worlds. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmo Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrakodara. Lord Krishna blew his concho called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the ferocious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific Herculean task blew his terrific concho called Pondra. Lord Krishna is referred to as Hrishikesha in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the sense of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, affects the senses, but he directs in form of the surrender of the living entity. In the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Down on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental sense of Arjuna, and his particular name is of Hrishikesha. The Lord has different names according to different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he killed the demon with the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudeva because he appeared as the son of Vasudeva. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki as mother. His name is Yashoda Nandana because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda Vrindavana. His name is Parthasarathi because he worked as charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Hrishikesha because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield Kurukshetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhima is known as Vrkodara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform.
He could eat as voraciously.
He could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks, such as killing the demon Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shells blown by different personalities on the side of the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there is so much credit, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Director, nor that of the Goddess of Fortune. So they are predestined to lose the battle. And that is a message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthira Nakulam Sahadevascha Sugosha Mani Pushpaka Karshascha Parameshwasha Shikandi Cha Maharata Drushtadumno Viratascha Sakyatisha Chaparajata Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasva Prativipate Saubhadrascha Mahabhuto Shankan Dadma Pritak. King Yudhishthira, son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, thus Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Sahadeva blew the Sugosha and Mani Pushpaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikandi, Drushtadumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the son of Draupadi, and the others, all kings such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells. Purport. Sanjaya informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. The signs all clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle. Beginning with the grandsire Bhishma down to the grandsons like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from many states of the world, all were present there, and all were doomed. The whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons. Sagosho Dhritarashranam hridayani vyadadayat nabhascha prativim chaiva tumudo byanumadayan. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Purport. When Bhishma and the others were on the side of Duryodhana, blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but this particular verse, it mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Krishna. One who takes shelter of the personality of God has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. Ata vyavyastitan drishtva dhritarashran kapidvaja pravitte shastra sampate dhanur udyamya pandava Hrishikesham tata dvakyam idam aha mahipate. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated on the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Krishna these words. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood that the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory, because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now both Rama and Hanuman are present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Rama himself, and the chariot of Arjuna,
and wherever Lord Rama
and where Lord Rama is his eternal servitor Hanuman, and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus all good counsel is available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Arjuna vacha sena yorupayor madhye natam stapaya mechuta yavadeta niriksheham yodu kamanavashtitan kermaya sahayodvarvyan asmin rana samudyame. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present there who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed here as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hrishikesha, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service unto the Lord, and similarly the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service in the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees, assuming the advantageous position of rendering him than he does in being the giver of orders. Since he is master, everyone's under his control or his orders, and no one's is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master of all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and see how much they are bent upon demanding an unwanted war. Yasyamanana veksheham nyayete trasamagata dhartarashtrasya durbuddher yudhe priya chikirshava. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. It was an open secret that Dhritarashtra wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas. It was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans, in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined on the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather, Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength of which he had to face. Although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. Sanjaya Vacha Eva Mukto Hrishikesho Gudakeshena Bharata Senayor Ubayor Madhye Stapayitva Ratottamam. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drove the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. Sleep also means ignorance, so Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in walking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of the Lord's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance. Simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness or samadhi. As Hrishikesha, the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna can understand Arjuna's purpose in placing his chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. Bhishma Drona Pramukata Sarvesham Chamahikshitam Uvacha Bharata Parshitan Samavetan Kurumiti. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold, Partha, all the Kurus assembled here. As the supersoul of all living entities, Krishna can understand what is going on in the mind of Arjuna. The use of the word Hrishikesha in this connection indicates that he knew everything. And the word Partha, the son of Kunti, or Pritha, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjuna. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was the son of Pritha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva, he had agreed to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Now what did Krishna mean when he told Arjuna to behold the Kurus? Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Pritha.
Okay, go ahead.
The mind of Arjuna was thus predicted by the Lord in friendly joke.
Okay, anybody else want to read? Okay, go ahead, come over here.
Phew.
Verse 26.
Atachenam nityachatam nityam va manyase mritam tatapi.
Verse 26?
Yeah.
It's not.
Right. Tatra pasyat sitan partha petran atta pitamathan acharyan matulan bhatran putran pautran sakim stata svasuran suryascheva Sukadascheva Senyor Upayor Api. There Arjuna could see, within the midst of the armies and both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends and also his fathers-in-law and his well-wishers. On the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Bhurisrava, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Salya and Sakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Kritavarma, etc. He could also see the armies which contained many of his friends. Tan sami sya sa konteya sarvan bandhun avastitan kripaya paraya visto visidan idam abravit. Where the son of Kunti, Arjuna saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Arjuna uvacha drishtrimam svajanam Krishna yoyustam samupasitam siddhanti mamagatrani mukkam cha parisuyasti. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs on my body quivering and my mouth drying up." Purport: Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or the demigods, whereas the non-devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualifications by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt that compassion even for the soldiers for the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And while he was so thinking, the limbs on his body began to quiver, and his mouth became dry. He was even more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna, had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is mentioned here...
It is not mentioned here.
Still, one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivered and his mouth drying up, but he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. It is said, therefore, Yasyasti
bhaktir bhagavat yakinchana sarvir gunashtatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahatguna manoratanasati dhavato bai. Go ahead.
One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of demigods. But one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of very little value. This is because he's hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by glaring material energy. Vepatas cha sarire me roma harsas jayate gandivam shramsas te hastat vakjaiva paridahi yate. My whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. There are two kinds of trembling in the body, and two kinds of standings on the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely, loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow Gandiva was slipping from his hands, and because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All of these are due to material conception of life. Nacha shaknomi avstantum brahmatviva chame mana nemittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon. Due to this impatience, Arjuna was unable to stay on the battlefield. He was forgetting himself on account of this weakness of mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in such a bewildering condition of existence. Bhayam diviti yabisni vestas syat. Bhagavad-Gita 11.2.37. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium take place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna envisioned that only painful reverses in the battlefield, he would not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. The words nimittani viparitani are significant. When a man sees only frustration in his expectations, he thinks, why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self-interest by Krishna's will. One's real self-interest lies in Vishnu, or Krishna. The conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory on the battle would only cause more lamentation for him. Nacha shreyo nupasyami hatva swajanam avhave nakans kase vijayam Krishna nacha rajyam sukkanicha. I do not see how any good can come out of killing my own kinsmen in this battle. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attached to bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes of a Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to the spiritual culture, are eligible to enter the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant to even kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in his life. Therefore, he is not willing to fight, just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. He now has decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves into any other occupation. But Arjuna has no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go into the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. Kim no rajyena govinda, kim bhoger jevite nava, yesham arte kankistam no Rajyam bhoga sukhani cha ta imeva sthita yuddhe prana mas tya kava danista acharya pitara putras ta taivacha pitamamaha matala svasur
Potro Shyala Sambandinastata Etan Na Hantam Ichami Gyanatopi Madhusudana. Good.
Api Trailoka Rajyasya Heto Kemnu Mahi Krite
Nihatya
Dhartari Dhatarashtrana Ka Priti Snach Janardana. O Govinda, of what avail to us our kingdom, happiness, or even life in itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed in this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-laws, grandsons, brother-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties are standing right before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Purport. Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasures for cows and senses. By using the significant word, Arjuna indicates that Krishna should understand what will satisfy Arjuna's senses. But Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. If we try to satisfy our senses of Govinda, however, then automatically our senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entity as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may covet. But when one takes the opposite way, namely when one tries to satisfy senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, and by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied. Krishna's deep affection, Arjuna's affection for community, Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here partly due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives. But Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed on the battlefield and he will be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is a typical calculation of material life. The transcendental life, however, is different. Since a devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. And if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there was any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before their coming to the battlefield, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. The fact is disclosed on following chapters. As natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was the Lord's plan that they all should become killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer. The Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill all the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. Papam evasraya asmam hatve tan atata yina tasmanar vayam hantum dhartarastran sambandhavam svajnanam hi katam hatva sukina sayama madava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how should we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Purport. According to the Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. 1. A poisonous giver. 2. One who sets fire to a house. 3. One who attacks with deadly weapons. 4. One who plunders riches. 5. One who occupies another's land. And 6. One who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary man. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Rama. Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife, Sita. But Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary in ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than killing his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would have been better to forget them on the grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not, therefore, consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as the husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, would never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees.
Anybody else want to read? You want to read? Okay. Did you want to read? Any of you? You want to read, Mataji? Okay, come read.
यद्यपि एते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपाहत चेतसा कुलक्षया कृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकं कथं नान्येन ज्ञेयम् अस्मभिः पापदास्मान्निवर्तितुं कुलक्षया कृतं दोषं प्रपश्याभिर्जनार्दन O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? A Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. Under such an obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is usually binding when the effect... Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight.
So that is not necessarily true. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. That may be true in some situations, but it's not always true. So in this situation, it's not true. You see. So his obligation was to withhold the principles of Kshatriyas, and they are to fight on the to defend Dharma. And the Kurus were definitely adharmic, and so he had an obligation to fight. So, like I said, this saying, obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. It may be true in some circumstances, but it's not always true. Yeah, go ahead.
Kulakshe panashyanti kula dharma sanatana dharmena ste kulam krishnam adharmo bhibhavatyuta. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in a religion. In the system of Varnashrama institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members might develop religious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. Adharma bhibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriya strisu dustasu varshneya jayate varna shankara. When a religion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, or descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashrama religion's principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the elder members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varnashrama system. On the failure of the Varnashrama dharma...
On the failure of such Varnashrama dharma.
On the failure of such Varnashrama dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and this adultery is indulged in the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence.
So this is very important statements here. And Srila Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit. He says, according to Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in Varnashram system. Well, what he's talking about here, again, it's not all women are not trustworthy or very intelligent, not very intelligent. It's sinful women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. I mean, you see a whole bunch of them on television, on the news, and on the talk shows. You know, very, very stupid and devious women talking all kinds of nonsense all day long. But that does not apply. Like, for example, Draupadi, Kunti Devi, Mother Yasoda, Radharani. We can go down a list of so many great women who are actually leaders of society, and they're not unintelligent, and they're not, you can't say they're not trustworthy. They're most intelligent and most trustworthy. Today we still read the prayers of Kunti Devi, the most exalted prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why Prabhupada says, according to Chanakya Pandit. Now, Chanakya Pandit is not a devotee. He was not a devotee. He's a Brahmana, and he's a moralist. And his morals, or his Chanakya Niti Shastri about material life, are generally correct. But he's not giving spiritual instruction. He's giving instruction that's how to live savvy, S-A-V-V-Y, in the material world. You know, how to live with some wisdom in the material world. He's not teaching us wisdom to go back to Godhead. So this statement about women is qualified by knowledge of spiritual life. And we know that there are women that are pure devotees, and therefore we shouldn't take this statement out of context. Okay?
Shankaro narakayeva kula gnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro yesham lupta pindodaka kriya. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life for both the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down, and because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. According to the rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is no need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu, because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful reactions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, while remnants of prasadam food are offered to the forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in the devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in the Bhagavatam 11.5.41. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitranam naking karonayam rinicha rajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihratya kartam. Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by the performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So, in this is very interesting purport, because it shows the glorious nature of prasadam. Okay, these little girls have to be quiet. You have to keep your child quiet. So, for people who are not engaged in devotional service full time, they have to perform the different Vedic rituals. Why? To become free from different sinful reactions, and also to free their relatives from sinful reactions. However, devotees are always engaged in offering food to Krishna, and if they offer properly, Krishna offers it back as their prasadam. Therefore, one is purified by taking prasadam, and one's relatives also, and ancestors are purified by that process. So, it's not necessary for devotees to perform all these different Vedic sacrifice rituals. But if one is not a devotee, then it is necessary to do it. The difference is this. When you chant Hare Krishna, when you perform these rituals, it's mainly for materialistic people who want to reduce the effect of sinful reactions due to their activities in life. But in the case of a devotee, chanting Hare Krishna, accepting Krishna Prasadam, engaging in devotional service, purifies more sins than you're able to commit. I mean, the purifying effect of chanting Hare Krishna sincerely is so great that you would not be able to commit so many sins. That you would. The difference is, by doing those rituals, you stop sinful reactions, but you don't stop the desire to sin. But by chanting Hare Krishna and regularly listening to Bhagavad-Gita, performing service, taking prasadam, it actually purifies the desire to sin. So it's a higher threshold of spiritual, let's say, purification. Simply purifying sinful reactions does not mean that you will stop sinning. But purifying the desire to sin means you'll never sin again. That's why a devotee is not required to perform all those rituals if the devotee is seriously following Krishna consciousness. Right. Go ahead. Doshe rite kulagnanam varna shankara karake
Utsadyante jati dharma kula dharmascha sasvata. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Community projects for the four orders of human society, combined with family welfare activities, as are set forth by the institution of Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma, are designed to enable the human being to attain his ultimate salvation. Therefore, the breaking of the Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos in that society, and consequently people forget about the aim of life, Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind, and persons who follow such leaders are sure to be led into chaos. Utsanakula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vaso bhavatityanususrama. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell.
Those who destroy family traditions dwell always in hell.
Those who
destroy family traditions. Is that what it says?
It says those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell.
There's different versions of the Bhagavad Gita. Go ahead.
Arjuna bases his argument not on his own personal experience, but on what he has heard from the authorities. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who's already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashrama institution by which before death one has to undergo the process of atonement for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of atonement called Prayaschita. Without doing so, one will surely be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives as a result of sinful activities. Aho bata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yadrajya shukalobena hantum swajanam udyata. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world, but Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities. Yadi mam pratikaram asastram sastra pranaya dhartarashtra rane hanyus tanme shemataram bhavet. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. It is the custom, according to Kshatriya fighting principles, that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, decided that even if attacked by the enemy in such an awkward position, he would not fight. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord.
So what we're seeing here right now is an explanation of how Krishna consciousness is vastly superior to mundane following of religion. And now, mundane following a religion is better than not following religion, right? But there is a higher calling in spirituality, and this is the lesson that Arjuna is going to learn here, and it's for all of us to learn. That the higher calling is following Krishna's order is the highest principle of Dharma. And simply following moral codes is not necessarily the highest principle of Dharma. So you'll see that there are many people in society today, especially in India, they say, you know, that serving man is serving God. Especially in India, a lot of people use that phrase. Manasa seva is Bhagavan seva, right? But it's not true. And those people who follow such a path, they're engaged in mundane moral activities, and it doesn't free them from the cycle of birth and death, nor does it free the people that they so-called help. Now, this is hard for some people to understand, but this is the whole dilemma of the Bhagavad-Gita. Krishna is going to convince Arjuna. Arjuna here is giving so many arguments why he should not fight. But Krishna is going to convince him to fight. So, someone who is a mundane person or concerned with mundane morality, they would side with Arjuna and think there's something wrong with Krishna. However, Arjuna is showing a false compassion. He's showing compassion. It's just like if a man is drowning, you swim out and you grab the man, but actually you grab his shirt and you come back and you say, I saved him, and then you show the shirt. Well, the shirt is not the man. The man is still out there drowning, or he's drowned already. So in the same way, this compassion for the body is not real compassion. And that's what Arjuna's, his whole, eloquent talk here is all about compassion for the body, for his relatives. It has nothing to do with the soul, or it has nothing to do with what Krishna wants. So this is the ultimate treatise, or ultimate study of morality. The highest principle of morality is pleasing Krishna. Sam siddhir haritoshanam. But most people think the highest principle of morality is serving mankind. Just like for ever since the 1960s, there have been tremendous programs to serve the poor. But the number of poor people has increased, even though the United States has spent $1 trillion trying to get people out of poverty. But it hasn't gotten people out of poverty. In fact, the number of people that are in poverty has increased. So that is not, the serving the bodies is a certain type of service, but it's not the ultimate service that can really help people. And we're going to see that now as Bhagavad-Gita progresses. So read the last verse.
Sanjaya vacha evam ukta varjuna shanke rato pasta upavisat vishradya sasaram chapam shoka samvigna manasa. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, after thus spoken on the battlefield, thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted by lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita on the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Grantha Raja Ki Jai. Go to Premanandi Haribol. So we'll take a break for, I guess, breakfast. And whoever's still enthusiastic, come back. We'll finish chapter 2. We have to finish these 2 chapters today. And tomorrow also we have to do at least two chapters. Hare Krishna.